And another try. 1, 2, 3, 7. The world is my expense, cost of my desire. Jesus bless me with its future, and I protect it with fire. So raise your fist and march around. Don't dare take what you need. I'll jail and bury those committed, and smother the rest in greed. Crawl with me into tomorrow, or I'll drag you into your grave. I'm deep inside your head, where they'll betray you in my name. Sleep now in the fire. Sleep now in the fire. The lie is my expense, scope of my desire. Body bless me with its future, and I'll protect it with fire. I'm the Nina, the Pinta, the Santa Maria, the Nuisance, the rapist, the field's overseer, the agent of Orange, the priest of Hiroshima, the cost of my desire. Sleep now in the fire. Sleep now in the fire. For it's the end history. It's caged, frozen still. There's no other pill to take, so swallow the one that made you ill. The Nina, the Pinta, the Santa Maria, the Nuisance, the rapist, the field's overseer, the agent of Orange, the priest of Hiroshima, the cost of my desire. Sleep now in the fire. Sleep now in the fire. Sleep now in the fire. Alright, that's the best I can do, man. It's not going to sound that great, but I told myself I was going to cover a Rage Against the Machine song and do it in my drop D style, and this was the best I could do, man. It's not the hardest, it's not the easiest song to do, but I was having trouble getting through it. I didn't know the words. I remember hearing this song on the radio because of the Nina Pinta Santa Maria. That's a cool line, but I didn't know the rest of the words by heart at all. It just shows you need to know the words before you try to cover a song, because if you have to look at it on the computer screen, it's going to come out so unnatural. But again, I said this 100 times, I'm not trying to be a great cover of this song because I can't do it anyway. But it's good enough to at least explain why I love this song, why Rage Against the Machine's been important. Probably 30 years ago, right? When the first album came out, probably early 90s, 93 or something. I could be wrong, I don't remember. But yeah, that was like the heaviest thing I ever heard as a 13, 14-year-old. even more than like Bleach or Bad Religion. You listen to Rage Against the Machine, and it's just powerful. Introduces you to different political landscapes. Introduces you to just to hip hop, to heavy metal, to a new kind of music that's still kind of hard to pay tribute to, shown by my terrible cover today. I tried it like 10 times, and it was one of the more difficult songs to get through. I don't even know. I'll probably look back at this one in a couple weeks or whenever, and I'll be like, I hate the beginning. I had to think of something different then. I could have done it like that, I guess, but I kind of like thinking of something different at least. If I can't do the original version justice, I have to make it different to kind of hide that I can't sing it. So that's why I was trying to come up with a different arrangement of it. It's in drop D. Something like that. If you want to try to play this cover better, I'm sure you can. But that's how it goes. It starts with 0032. And then the verse is pretty easy. Maria. Sleep now. So it's not the worst. If you're gonna try to play a Rage Against the Machine song on the acoustic drop D in the style I'm doing it, you know, I didn't take that long to come up with this arrangement, but you're not going to come up with anything too different. You have to reinterpret the song based on the instrument you're using. If I was a flute player and I was trying to cover Rage Against the Machine, Sleep Now on the Fire on flute, I would have to come up with a different way to get that emotion out, because I'll never be able to rap or sing like that. I'm just saying the truth of it. I don't think I have that inside of me to be able to be like that emotional, passionate singer. I try, and I have to practice more, I guess. But yeah, it's a tough skill, man. But I picked this song because it kind of represents Rage Against the Machine in a nutshell. I wanted to pick something off their first album because that was the one I grew up with in high school. I had it on cassette, and I would listen to it over and over again, working out and stuff. And that's probably still my favorite. Rage is one of those bands that I think everyone listens to because there's so much hype. And it's worth it, man. They kind of made their own sound between Red Hot Chili Peppers and all that grunge stuff and all the heavy metal stuff, and they kind of set the bar for that type of music. And I'm sure a lot of metal bands would cite them as an influence, a lot of hip hop bands. I really wanted to do Know Your Enemy because that's my favorite Rage song. There was no way in hell I'd be able to get through that song if I try to come up with an acoustic arrangement. I don't even attempt to because it's too difficult. Know Your Enemy is my favorite out of all their albums. And there's a cover by Denzel Curry that's really, really good. I watched it earlier this week, and he just kills it, man. That's the type of voice I'm talking about. He gets crazy, crazy passionate. And yeah, that's something I have to work on because I don't have that inside me at the moment. But I'm trying to play an acoustic version of it, so this was my tribute to Rage Against the Machine in the only style I can do. And yeah, this is among my favorite songs. When I make my top 10 list of Rage songs, it's going to be that first album, like probably 4 songs off of it. And it's just such a powerful album, man. Maybe the best debut album, maybe the heaviest intellectually in the 90s in terms of lyrics and politics and just overall scope. It was a different kind of sound with bass riffs, guitar riffs that led the song like that. I don't know, it just caught people, whether you're Republican or Democrat, like, you could probably listen to Rage Against the Machine and get something out of it. And yeah, they're still a relevant band, of course. I don't know if they'll ever get back together and do anything. Maybe they said everything they had to say, and maybe that's a good time to get out if you're a band. But Tom Morello still does The Night Watchman, I think, or he did that acoustic thing, and he has other projects, I'm sure. And yeah, he's a good podcast guy. He was on Billy Corgan podcast, and he's an interesting guy to listen to. And yeah, overall in the 90s, if you're going to pick the top 10 bands of the 90s, at least in terms of commercial or name recognition, I bet you Rage Against the Machine would be on that list of top 10 because they were on MTV, they're on the radio, and they also spoke to like non-commercial segments of the population who probably don't even like the radio, don't listen to the radio. So they're one of those few bands that bridge that gap, that they're speaking so much about anti-corporate this and anti-consumerism, and I'm sure they really believe that stuff. They seem like they do, that they really believe in all that stuff. And because all of their songs have some kind of political message about some tragedy from the past, or how we're repeating history, anti-war songs and stuff. And I don't think they were phony at all. Like, I didn't stay with Rage throughout my life. Their debut knocked me on my ass as a teenager. Yeah, completely. I still love that album. I think it's among the best metal albums, the best hip hop albums. I don't know what you really term it, and if it even matters. It's just a great album. But yeah, the debut, The Battle of Los Angeles, is probably my other favorite. Evil Empire was alright. And there's some hits and misses on some of the other ones, but overall, I think they have a very respectable catalog. And maybe there's no other band as politically outspoken that got so successful. Because it feels like if your political commercial radio wants to stay away from you, they don't want any controversy. And rightfully so, I can get that. But Rage seemed to bridge that, where they spoke to both sides of the spectrum almost, and had this righteous mentality that when they speak about some of the atrocities throughout history, like, it's hard to deny that stuff. Like, I don't care what side you're on, if something shitty happens, you can't deny it. And yeah, maybe they're the best musical outlet for that type of rage, that type of education. Some of that stuff you probably don't even learn in school. Like when HBO released the Watchmen series, and they showed that, what was it, Oklahoma in the early 1900s, and there was like a black community and whatever it was, some element attacked it and like bombed the place. I never knew that happened. I forget. Maybe I don't want to make up. I'll have to link when I'm trying to reference. But it was in the first episode of Watchmen. If you ever saw it on HBO. And there's a lot of stuff you don't learn in school. Whether, like me, I went to Catholic school. Even if you go to public school, I don't know if you learn about stuff like that. There's a lot of stuff, man, and yeah, this stuff is still relevant. Should we call it Columbus Day? Should we call it Indigenous People Day? Like, all those debates still go on every generation. It seems like every election, it's just a recycling of stuff. I'm of the point where I want to just resolve shit, man. Like Dave Chappelle talked about it in South Africa when apartheid ended. That they had like a formal resolution of reconciliation, so they could put a closure to it, like have some catharsis, and that should always be like the main motivation for anything, man. Because if you don't give it a catharsis and closure for all parties involved, it's just going to be an issue that keeps coming back over and over. Like every election cycle is the same core issues over and over and over. And it's meant to be like that. Like it's meant to divide people. And it's annoying, man. Like when you're young and idealistic, it kind of speaks to you, I guess. And it's like, oh, I'm going to join a side and be righteous like that. As you get older and more cynical and more just worn down by the whole political landscape, it's just, yeah, you become cynical, you become just more ignorant, bliss type of mentality. And yeah, everyone gets to that point. It's not really being godless or anything. It has nothing to do with religion, what I'm speaking about now. But it's more just like you've seen how the cycle goes and you're like, all right, man, what can I do to make the world better, more equal? Lead me to that direction without all this other bullshit in the way. And I'm on board with that. But it's not like that transparent where you don't really know where to put your allegiances because there's just so much bullshit. I think a lot of people get to that point in their political life where they drop out, they tune out, they don't watch the news anymore. They're like, all right, I can't have any say over these matters. And yeah, of course, I'm nobody. Why do I have a say in anything? But you just get sick of feeling that way. Like you don't really know what's happening. There's no transparency or very little transparency. And yeah, I think a lot of people on all sides, Republican, Democrat, they all feel that way at some point in their lives. So Rage is a good band to get those feelings out. What's he speaking about in this song? A lot of things, I think. Just repeating history. Just how to manipulate people, how to corrupt people. All people, no matter where you live, what your background is, anyone could be corruptible. These are what I get from this. And I guess he does talk about colonialism and religion a little bit, because there is that historical atrocities that you can't just forget about. You know, even if you're not a part of that, your family wasn't a part of it through any generation. Like, I'm just speaking of living in America. You still feel that. Like, my other video I just made today. Today is June 27th, 2025. I made my Anatomy of a Song video, and I did A Man with No Country. I'm not sure whether to title it that or Expatriate. And that's why I picked a Rage song, because I'm trying to connect the two videos together now. I'm through like 18 videos of my Anatomy of a Song series, and a couple of weeks ago I was like, I should really connect these two videos together. And my song Expatriate, it's kind of a heavy political song, along the lines of these Rage Against the Machine songs, System of a Down, even Metallica. I said it kind of reminded me of a Metallica song, Black Sabbath. And even though the type of music isn't similar to Rage, like there is a connection to it. So in preparation for that video, I've read a Kurt Vonnegut book, A Man Without a Country. It's probably the last book he wrote, or one of the last books he wrote. It's kind of a compilation of some of his ideas throughout his life. It's really good. I'd recommend it. I read it this week. It was pretty short. It wouldn't take you more than a day to get through. And there's humor in it. He wrote it during like the Bush years. So he was saying a lot of similar stuff about resource wars, colonialism, how war is just continual cycle through the generations. And he was involved in Dresden in World War II. And when he came home, like his family was like, "Oh, you're a man now. You went through war," and he said he hated that mentality. Like, unless you go through the atrocities of war, you're not a man. Like, and he was speaking about that, like 1819, and he went through the Dresden shit, which was like an entire city burnt to the ground. And yeah, that has to be just. Like nothing in your life is ever going to compare to that. If you go through World War II, that generation, and you go through shit like the Holocaust or Dresden or any of that crazy shit, Soviet Union, people were like eating each other, cannibalism, during World War II, during the winter. I don't know, man. There's some crazy stories. I think it was Stalingrad or Leningrad. Sorry, I don't remember the name. But I actually wrote a song about it. About, like, think about that shit. Like, you're in a war and the enemy is holding back your food supply, so you start eating your neighbors and shit. People were afraid to let their children go down the street because they thought people were going to eat them and shit. Like, I'm laughing, but because it seems like a horror movie of the worst kind of horror movie. Zombie apocalypse shit. But that shit supposedly actually happened in parts of Russia and stuff. So yeah, World War II is some dark fucking shit, man. And going through that book, Vonnegut, I think it's called A Man Without a Country. I bought the book because I was looking if anyone has that title, A Man with No Country, and maybe that's why I changed the name of the song to Expatriate. But yeah, it's pretty good. He has some humorous stuff in there too. But he's talking about serious stuff, but he's in his 80s. Maybe he feels more free to speak about it. And some of the experiences he went through. And yeah, he'd probably be a fan of some of these Rage songs. I don't know if you ever listened to Rage Against the Machine, Kurt Vonnegut. But yeah, there's a feeling of this song that's like, even though it's dealing with how fucked up humanity is and we're all greedy assholes, and given the opportunity, anyone could turn into that and be corrupted and all that shit. Doesn't matter your religion or your ethnicity, those temptations or those vices are always going to be there. And yeah, it's a lifelong battle to balance that out on a personal scale, on a global scale, on a national scale, for politicians, for anybody, man. To live your life where you do the least harm to anyone else in your community or in your nation or in your global community, whatever. It's a lifelong thing because you're going to have ups and downs like that. So yeah, those are some of the themes I get from this song, and it connected to me. Whenever there's, a war or some atrocity, and it's like, it's always the most complicated part of any generation. And I said in my other video, eventually that all that shit's gonna come to an end. Humanity's gonna just put an end to all the blood feuds, and through the generations of teaching people to hate one another, because that's not natural, it's not normal. There's something else involved to it that's even more than a mental disease, where you have to spread it to the next generation because your family spread it to you, their family spread it to them, and it's like a traditional hatred that just gets passed down for no other reason, but it makes you feel like you're continuing a tradition or something. I don't know, man. You get so passionate about your heritage and your cultural identity and your machismo a lot of times, because this is more male than female, I think. Yeah, there's female nationalists, there's female war hawks and stuff like that, but I feel like it's more of a male thing to feel that nationalistic fervor and all that shit. It's more of a male mentality for some reason. Maybe it's in our caveman DNA, like outsiders come to invade our pond, like in 2001 A Space Odyssey, and you have to defend your territory and be alpha. You have to be the alpha of all tribal relations. All that bullshit still exists within the male species, even the female species. Like, definitely, I don't want to portray like only men have that egotistical, spiteful mentality, because yeah, women have that too, definitely. And I said in my other video, would the world be different if women were in charge in most countries? I don't know. Would women be more prone to continue blood feuds and religious feuds and tribal feuds, schisms and all this shit? I don't know, man. I can't answer that. I'm sure there's plenty of sociologists and people in gender studies and all that stuff that would have better explanations for it. I did read one book that deals with gender identification through the history of civilization. The Chalice and the Blade, Riane Eisler, if I'm saying her name correctly. Written in the 80s, and she talks about that, how societies in the past, like going way back, it was more of a partnership thing than patriarch or matriarch. And maybe that's what a lot of the gender politics today is trying to get to. But even those movements get polluted with so much bullshit. The Me Too movement probably started out really good, and then it just got real crazy, and people just said, what the fuck is this shit? Like the Tea Party movement. It starts out, yeah, who wants to pay stupid taxes for no reason? Nobody does. I think a lot of people are conflicted. They don't know where their taxes are going and stuff. But the Tea Party movement probably was full of shit too. It was probably some corporate propaganda thing. So a lot of political movements start out good, or they seem like they're righteous, and then after years or months, they just get buried in their own excrement because they turn into just polluted, I don't know, self-righteous or bigoted movements like that. It doesn't have to be like that, but it just tends to go that direction, I think. Because once you get a taste of power, political power, you're going to get corrupted. It's hard to have a movement that sticks to its ideals, I guess. But yeah, I'm going way off here. I'll end it now because I've been talking too much today. If you never really took a chance on Rage Against the Machine because you think they go against your politics or go against your religion, like I said about Bad Religion, give it a chance. Um, I don't think they're going to speak to any issues that you never heard about before. Maybe a little bit. But if you dig into their lyrics, like there's nothing really they're not saying anything that other people haven't said already. So as long as you have some knowledge of politics throughout human civilization over the last 100 years, 200, 300, whatever, colonialism, expansion, empires, all that shit's in there, and it's not like they're saying anything that's not been said before. And it's good. Music is a good way to educate people. It is a form of education, and it doesn't mean you're going to agree with everything they say. I don't agree with it all. It doesn't mean you're going to automatically go read some Howard Zinn or fucking Noam Chomsky and all that shit, whatever else. But it might give you a wider scope of why certain people lean this way or that way. Because it's hard to put yourself in the shoes of other people. And that's always a good thing. I feel like Rage is a type of band that's so loud and powerful. And they were kind of like a movement in a way. I think they were. A lot of their concerts seem to be like political events, almost like rallies and shit. So yeah, there's a lot to the band that I don't know deeply enough because I wasn't a part of that. I was too young to go see them live in the early 90s and later 90s. I never saw them in concert. They're one of those bands though, if they come back, of course I would love to see them play live. And yeah, they're one of those bands that I'm sure live they would just be absolutely insane to see. Just a mass of people singing along to all these songs. So it'll be interesting to see where Rage Against the Machine goes in the future, if they get back together at some point. It's not out of the realm of possibilities to write new material. Yeah, that would be really cool. And I'm sure they have other things to write about, more current topics, and yeah, there's always a place. I think their fan base and people who followed them in the 90s, like myself, that weren't like crazy big fans, but realize why they're an important band. You know, they would still be relevant in the world today completely. So that's it. I'll make a Substack post later, and I'll pick my favorite 10 Rage Against the Machine songs, and I'll try to pick from all their albums. Most likely I'm going to pick 4 from their first album. The Battle of Los Angeles, I'll probably pick 3, and then I'll try to find like 3 other ones from other albums I'm not as familiar with. 'Cause those are the 2 albums I would rock front to back. The Rage debut and the Battle of Los Angeles, they're like perfect albums. Like I'm always comparing music and movies together because I love both kind of equally. And the argument's always around that if you listen to violent music or violent movies, gangster rap, heavy metal, gangster movies, all these war movies, Grand Theft Auto, violent video games, that will desensitize you to violence. There might be some truth to that. I can't deny it. I'm not going to totally deny it. I played Grand Theft Auto, and it's a shit ton of fun. Just go around, act like a maniac. But does that reflect on our society at all? I don't know, man. Maybe we're not the best generation to decide this because we're the ones living it. But maybe in 100 years, they're going to look back at us and be like, what the fuck was wrong with these people? I don't know. It's a weird thing. Because I could look at it from my personal self. I can play a violent video game, listen to rage, listen to heavy metal or gangster rap. I'm not going to go want to become a drug dealer or do violent things because of a video game or a movie or music. But I can't speak for other people. So it's a weird thing to get into. Entertainment. It's complicated when it gets into rating systems and parental advisories. I would just end it by saying that Rage Against the Machine, yeah, they probably had parental advisory on their first album, but that doesn't mean it's not good for teenagers to learn about that stuff. You just have to take it for what it is and listen to it for what they're trying to portray. There's a lot of good messages about, thinking for yourself and not becoming manipulated by propaganda or false portrayal of historical events or people erasing stuff from the history books. There's a lot of that shit. So if a musical act can bring some of these things to light and put it to bed, make peace with it, I don't see why it's a bad thing. And yeah, I guess I'll end it there. I'm sure I'm saying all kinds of stupid shit right now. And yeah, go listen to Rage. If anything else, it's going to get you pumped up. And it's good summertime music. It's good summertime music just because summertime is usually a time to work out. And you can listen to Rage and just get all your bullshit out of your head and just work out. And yeah, that's it. Go listen to a Rage CD. Pick anything, but I would recommend the first one because that's the one that addicted me as a youth and expanded my musical brain pretty much. And it still reverberates today in my songwriting. So yeah, go listen to the debut, and I think most people have already. But if you neglected to go down the Rage Against the Machine discography, check it out. I think you'll be pretty amazed by it because the music is just so good.